And our coverage of this verdict continues tonight with two local leaders in the African American community right here in Bakersfield. We have Dr. Tommy Tunson, a professor at Bakersfield College, and of course Arleana Waller, who we did see get very emotional there in Kylie's story. And she's the creator of ShePower and the MLK Initiative. And they are both joining us live here tonight. Thank you both so much for being here. Dr. Tunson, I want to start off with you first. Can you give us your initial thoughts on this verdict as you heard it?
Are you asking me about my initial thoughts?
Yeah, your initial thoughts on hearing this verdict. Yeah.
Relief. You know, we are all poised up. We were all expecting the verdict that we got, but we weren't really sure. Whenever you have a trial and you have humans making decisions, you really get tense. But I was relieved and happy that after all the years, especially me being in policing for so long, to finally see justice take hold. And we know what justice looks like now. And this is true American justice.
Now, you told us earlier today that you expected a verdict today, but why do you think jurors made such a very quick decision on this?
The evidence was compelling. It's really difficult to refute the evidence that was posed in this case. And there was really no plausible defense that could be given. The ones that were given were really frail and they weren't substantive. So the prosecution really put on a great case. The witnesses were excellent. And it was just an overall great prosecution put on by the Attorney General's office in Minnesota.
And what's the significance of the decision when it comes to future rulings? How do you see this decision playing a role in future legislation, specifically around police reform?
I'm hoping that more training, education, because I got to tell you, the education is what's led to the mistrust, because we have been dealing with this in communities of color since I was a child in the 60s and 70s. Nothing's changed. But like Will Smith said the other day, now it's on social media and everybody can see what you're doing, put your business out there. So I hope academic training, the transformational policing program at BC are the ways that I think we're going to do this, because in this training, we actually go into why the distrust exists and do a thorough analysis of it.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Tunson. We appreciate it. Let's go ahead and bring in Arleana Waller again with ShePower and the MLK Initiative. And good evening, Arleana. I do want to say, seeing you get very emotional during Kylie's story, what were your initial thoughts hearing this verdict? You know, obviously you had a physical and emotional response to that.
I had no idea how I would respond to that, but hearing what we knew should have happened, but the fact that African Americans rarely ever, if ever, get this kind of justice in these situations, I was filled with emotions. I have two Black sons. I'm a mother to Black children, and so that was personal for me. So to feel that, I became overwhelmed with emotions in that moment for my children and for every mother that has Black children.
And I was going to ask you, do you think the jury made the right decision? Obviously you do, but why? Why is this so important?
Well, this is an important step in the right direction in our justice system. This is the floor of where we need to be. This is not the ceiling. So this is a right step because we're starting to build what justice for all could truly look like.
And what impact do you think this guilty verdict will have on the African American community here in Kern County specifically?
Well, I hope. I serve as the chair of the Kern County Sheriff's Advisory Council, and I hope that this will give both sides boldness enough to start mending that gap and start building a relationship. I hope that the law enforcement will come behind the blue wall and start doing true community policing, start engaging in the community. And when they take that first step, the community is going to respond in a positive way. And I believe this is foundational for what needed to happen decades ago.
So you said you actually work with the Kern County Sheriff's Office. So I want to ask you, what efforts are already underway in order to get more diverse police officers, do some more community outreach? Are there things currently underway?
Well, as you know, this is massive work, and we had to do a lot of foundational work in order to make sure that we can lay down a plan that will go on long before we're on this council. We are working to get more Blacks and women hired within the Sheriff's Department. We are working directly with the Sheriff's Department with their culture. There is a cultural issue that we have to address. This is not the time for us to be worried about people's feelings. This is a time for both sides to come together in as much truth as we can. And we've been allowed to do that through the CAC, working with the DOJ, appointed monitor, and working directly with Sheriff Youngblood and Undersheriff Doug Josh and the entire organization. So we have been doing extensive work because this has to change. Not only are Black children's lives in danger, but officers, white officer, Hispanic officer, Black officer, children are also in danger. This is a danger for America. Bad cops is a danger to America.
You said there needs to be a culture change. What does that mean? There's a culture. What does that mean?
Well, if you look at the Kern County Sheriff data, there are more white men on that Sheriff's Council. There are not many women, and they're less than 1.4% Blacks. So we understand if you're not in the space, you're not part of the culture. Where that fault lies, that's not what I'm here to point out. But I'm here to point out that it's a problem. And so that's where the culture is not diversified. It does not represent those that they need to serve. And so you tend to have these issues. We understand and know data shows that Black bodies die at the hand of law enforcement 30% higher, 3 times higher than white bodies. And so there is a culture issue that we have to address.
And I want to ask you, I was watching ABC coverage, obviously, and one of the national correspondents saying that he heard in Minneapolis himself a lot of people chanting, now it's time to start healing. Where do communities of color begin to heal? Where does this start? You said, this is a massive undertaking. Where do you even start to begin healing?
It starts within our law enforcement. The DOJ has a stipulation on the BPD and the Sheriff's Department, so we know we have issues. That's where it starts. Sunday, the MLK Community Initiative Crime Task Force stood on the Bakersfield Police Department and prayed in partnership with law enforcement, not because we said they're perfect or there's no wrong, because we want to start the healing. We want them to start the healing from inside their organization and then bring it out to the community.
All right, Arleana, thank you so much. Again, thank you, Dr. Tunson. We appreciate you both sharing your insight with us tonight.